In Georgetown, Texas, the fastest way to turn a great move into a money pit is buying the wrong type of home. Not because the neighborhood's bad, but because certain properties come with hidden risks that don't show up in the listing photos. And you usually don't feel that until after you move in. When you look at what actually makes Georgetown, Texas homes expensive after closing, a clear pattern does show up, and that's why in this video I'm breaking it down for you. There are specific home types that create the biggest surprise costs in Georgetown, Texas. I'm actually standing in front of a home that we're going to be discussing in this video. We're going to talk about the red flags that you can spot before you write an offer. I'm Stuart Sutton, a local real estate agent specializing in Georgetown, Texas. I have for over 3 decades, and I help buyers make smart, protective decisions every week. Today I'm going to walk you through the 7 types of homes you should never buy here unless you know exactly what to look for. All right, let's start with one that can change your risk level immediately. Depending on the type of housing you're looking for and what area you're looking for, this might not come into play, but it certainly could in Georgetown, Texas. I would be very wary of a bad remodel. Now, what's a bad remodel? Well, a bad remodel is where they didn't think of everything. Well, if they cut any corners, if they didn't replace things that should have been replaced, you need to be concerned. You need to investigate and find out more. So I've seen many remodels that were beautifully done, but the roof was old. I've seen remodels where they looked great, but the air conditioning system looked like it was on its last leg. And what you're finding there are remodelers who are trying to make the house sell on its great looks. Now, I happen to be in a really good remodel. You can see in the background, for example, this particular remodel took the backsplash in the kitchen all the way from the counters to the ceiling. This remodeler put in a freestanding vent hood and even a pot filler in the kitchen. Now, I can go throughout the rest of the house and show you things, but this remodel pretty much thought of everything. I would also highly recommend that you meet the remodeler. Ask questions of the remodeler. Even if it's listed with an agent, a lot of times remodelers will list their own home because they have licenses, but sometimes they list with real estate agents. I would meet with the remodeler just like I would meet with a builder or builder's representative. See, when you buy a new home, you get to meet with the superintendent, the one who actually builds the home. I believe you should also meet with a remodeler, ask all the questions, get all the details, get all the specifications, and just make sure that that remodel is up to the standards that you would expect when you move into the home. You don't want to move into a beautifully remodeled home only to find out that there's some very expensive updates that weren't done. So don't be fooled by just pretty remodels. Make sure the quality is there as well. This particular category of home may be one that you absolutely aren't going to be surprised by, but I'm going to get in some details that you're going to want to know. Homes with questionable roofs. You see, in Texas, we have hailstorms, and a lot of sellers will actually wait around until the next hailstorm so they don't have to pay for a full roof. Can't begrudge them. I think we've all done that. However, when you're purchasing a home, if the roof is questionable, you need to make absolutely sure that everything is resolved before you close the home. Now, here's what happens in a situation like this. If the inspector says, hey, this house might have hail damage, then you need to have it checked by a professional roofer. Now, I'm going to add one word to that: a trusted professional roofer. A roofer who you or someone you know or I have history with that we know won't try to put a roof on when it doesn't need it. And a roofer who is willing to make repairs and keep a roof in good shape and give it longer life instead of replacing it if that does the job. The bottom line is, if you need a new roof, you need a new roof. And that seller is going to have to put it on for you or somebody else. So if the seller needs to have the roof replaced by insurance and they call the insurance company, so if the inspector recommends a professional roofer look at it, trusted professional roofer comes out, says, yes, you have hail damage, seller will need to call their insurance company. The insurance company will send an adjuster. Here's a big rule you never want to break. Ever, 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 ever. I can say that more times. Ever, ever. Never break this rule. Never let that insurance adjuster on the roof unless your trusted professional roofer is there with them. I broke it one time many years ago and it cost me dearly, well into 5 figures out of pocket. Bottom line is that if insurance needs to cover it, they need to cover it. But the fact of the matter is, insurance companies would kind of prefer not to have to replace a roof. And we've seen many situations where we've really had to go to bat for our clients in order to get a roof replaced when the insurance company tried to deny that it did. So be absolutely certain that that roof is in good shape, that roof, it doesn't have to be new, but it has to be in good shape. It has to be insurable. Don't get into a situation where a roof is questionable and you think, okay, we'll make this work for a while. But then when you close, your insurance company is going to come inspect the roof. Some insurance companies do it immediately, some wait. The ones that do it immediately may come out and say, we're not going to insure this roof. You have to replace it. Now guess what happens? You're out of pocket a lot of money. So this needs to be something you take care of and make absolutely certain that you don't buy a house that puts you in a very costly, precarious situation. I hope that makes sense. My wife says I hope that makes sense a little too much, but I kind of hope it does make sense. Now, this is one you probably expected. Make absolutely certain the foundation is in good condition. In this part of the country, it's a small minority of homes that have foundation issues, but you always want to make sure that that is a situation you're not getting into. So I'm going to throw a few things out at you that you may or may not have been aware of. First of all, if your inspector says, I think you ought to have the foundation checked, that's not oh my gosh, there's a big problem, let's panic. No, inspectors are there to raise red flags. Most of the time when an inspector says that, there's not a problem, but they see signs that they need to point out to you, and that's their job to do it. So if an inspector says, hey, have the foundation checked, then a foundation company would probably come in. They would check the foundation. Now, a foundation company has an underlying motive. They want business. Their perception of a problem might be different than an engineer who's an unbiased third party. I've had situations where a foundation company said, yes, you need work. And then we brought in an engineer who said, no problem here, this slab is just fine. Now, just because an inspector raised a red flag and a foundation company said you need work, an engineer says everything's fine, you don't need to doubt that engineer's work. Well, those other two people said, that's okay. The engineer is the expert. And you will get a report that fully explains why a licensed engineer feels the slab is in good condition. Now, here's something to think about. If the slab has been fixed in the past, you have a warranty. Probably. Make absolutely certain you do. If that warranty covers the work that was done, here's something you need to be a little bit wary of. What if work is needed on other parts of the house at some time? That warranty will not come into play. So you need to be very comfortable that the work was done, resolve the issue, and it's unlikely that there'll be future issues. There's no crystal ball. No engineer can say you'll never have a problem. But an experienced engineer, an experienced inspector can give you a pretty comfortable feeling about buying a home where a slab has been repaired in the past. So always follow the rule. Call on the ultimate expert, the engineer, when it comes to assessing foundations. This category is going to be a little more obvious based on what's going on behind me. You see, I came over and set up in front of a slightly busier than typical residential street. Now, busier residential streets are not really what people are looking for. Sometimes they find a house that really seems to work for them that happens to be on a busier than typical residential street. Now, I'm going to identify three kinds, but they're all really kind of a concern. The front, which we're looking at right now behind us, and quite sincerely, a lot of people just don't want that road noise in front, or if they have children, they don't want them in the front yard. They're concerned about that traffic. Secondly, busy streets that side to a home. And it's really surprising how many times I've seen homes built where there's a lot of windows on the busy street side and homes that back up to busy streets. You know what surprises my wife and I as we drive around? Actually, a lot of things surprise me, like the length of red lights. I think they get longer as I get older. But all the houses in new subdivisions that back up to busy streets. We kind of look at each other and say, who bought those houses and why? Well, I will tell you why. Because there are no lot premiums in new subdivisions for homes that back up to busy streets. So you'll get a little better price on the house overall. But is it worth it? Our studies show that you don't get as big a discount when you buy a new home backing or siding or on a busy street as you do when you have to resell it, because you're definitely going to take a discount when you resell a home that backs to, sides to, or faces a busy street. Now, as I look up and down this street, there are many homes that have turned over and somebody bought them because location was something that they wanted, or the floor plan fit them just right, or the lot fit them just right. But the bottom line is that if you have a choice I would highly consider buying a home that's not on a busy street. Now, if you just find the best home for you on a busier than typical street, just make sure that you buy it right, because when you sell, you will be giving that buyer a discount over typical market norms. A home that's literally a block over, that's not on a busy street, will sell for more than your house will if everything is similar. A location like this in Georgetown, Texas can be extremely appealing, and some people would rather be on a busier street than move farther out to a quieter location. And our ultimate retirement guide for Georgetown, Texas can point those exact things out for you. Locations, different types of neighborhoods, different styles of housing, weather, restaurants. It's packed full of information that's going to be helpful to you. So download that Ultimate Retirement Guide for Georgetown, Texas. It's free, no hassle, no obligation. Now this is a category I told you that you might not expect. This category of homes that you might want to consider not buying: atypical homes. If you're in a neighborhood and virtually all the homes have 3-car garages, but you're looking at one with a 2-car garage, that's atypical. Bottom line is that if someone can go buy a 3-car garage for virtually the same price as a 2-car garage, why wouldn't they? So unless there's something very unique and very special about that house that fits you perfectly, you might want to consider passing on the 2-car garage when 3-car garages are absolutely prevalent. If 3-car garages aren't prevalent, obviously a 2-car garage is just fine. There are plenty of neighborhoods where 2-car garages are the norm. But if you live in a neighborhood that has 3-car garages as prevalent and you have a 2-car garage, it could be a challenge to sell when the time comes. The buyer pool will just be smaller. Now here's something else. Now you can sort of resolve that by getting it at a great price and understanding that you might take longer to sell when that time comes. Another atypical home is one with a smaller than typical backyard. Fewer people are going to want a home with a smaller than typical backyard. That doesn't make it unsaleable, just means it'll be more of a challenge to sell. I've seen many homes where, because of the lot situation or where the trees were, the home was pushed back on the lot. So when you enter the back door, the fence wasn't very far back, and the backyard was much more shallow than what is typical, and that is a challenge. Another atypical backyard is where the backyard is on the side. I've seen that plenty of times, where there's a lot of yard space on the side, and that seems like that would compensate, but that's not typical. People like to see a nice rectangular backyard. Now, if you're in a neighborhood where backyards aren't the norm, that's absolutely fine. There are neighborhoods where 2 bedrooms are the norm, so a 2-bedroom home would be fine. But if you're in a regular neighborhood where 3 and 4 bedrooms are typical, a 2-bedroom home is going to be more of a challenge to sell. Now we're going to get back to a category of house that you probably expected, but I'm going to add some details you might not have expected. In Central Texas, there's 2 types of houses: those that have had termites and those that are going to. That's an old saying that isn't really that accurate, but you do need to watch out for this particular type of house. If you see termite damage, or the inspector points out termite damage, you need a full explanation of what happened. If there were termites, were they resolved? Was it taken care of? And is there a warranty? If there are active termites and they've never been treated, you need to make sure that a treatment is done that resolves it. Now, there are a couple of types of treatment. Some companies will try to do what's called a spot treatment, and that's actually okay. But as your buyer representative, I would negotiate for a full treatment of the home. That way you're absolutely sure that the whole entire home has been treated and you have a warranty on it. If you have a spot treatment, you'll get a warranty on it, but it might not be for the entire house. I hope that makes sense. And be sure to get multiple bids. The cost to do a termite treatment can be wildly different based on who you use. I also want to point something else out. There's something called conducive conditions. And I've seen situations where a buyer wanted an entire home treated because of conducive conditions. It's not really necessary. Remove the conducive conditions and you're fine. Well, wait a minute. What are conducive conditions? This will probably clarify for you. Conducive conditions are nothing more than the likelihood that if termites entered the home, that's where they would come from. I'll give you a very simple example. Wood stacked up against the house. Termites can go into a wood pile, go from there into the home. So if there are no termites, but there are conducive conditions, remove the conducive conditions. There's no reason to treat a home that has no termites. And this category can be very extreme or very subtle. I've seen some very extreme examples, and you've seen what I'm talking about. Homes below street grade. I've seen homes that were 5, 10, 15, 20 feet below street grade. And I've seen homes that were very subtly below street grade. And this is one of them. If you see behind me, there's a cross street that comes right into this road. And that street the water flows down that street because there's a decline toward this road, but that flows right into the house that sits across from the intersection. But it's very subtly below grade. As a matter of fact, as I turn and you'll see that the driveway that street runs into is really to each side. And then the drive runs right down to the house. Now, I will tell you, this owner has done a fantastic job of making sure the water runs around the house. But that's not the case every single time. You see, again, it's below grade, not very much, but the street that runs into it is above the home, and it's above the road that the home sits on. So as you watch the water run, it will flow down the driveways and then around the side of the house. But again, you have to be very careful. Watch that. Make sure there's been no past water penetration. Now, water flow is one issue with below grade homes. Another is, well, just pure aesthetics. Now, I will admit to you, this is a very attractive home, and nobody would think twice about it because below grade is subtle. But there are homes that are so far below grade that you literally have to walk up to the curb to look down and see how pretty they are. And most people, quite sincerely, don't want their friends and relatives to drive up and go, oh, where's their house? And then have to look down. They want someone to drive up to their home and say, oh my, what a beautiful home. So aesthetics, that seems trite, but it's actually a fact. And water flow are the two issues with homes that are below street grade. And in Texas, real estate disclosures will show you if there's ever been water penetration. If there have, you're going to want to find out why, when, and how it is resolved, and make sure that that is still the case. So we've talked about the 7 types of homes you don't want to buy unless you understand the compensating factors. In other words, if you do want to buy a home that is on a busy street, buy it at a great price so that when you sell it, you won't take a hit. And you heard the compensating factors and the resolutions for the other types of homes as well. If you're looking at homes in Georgetown, Texas right now, and you'd like a second set of eyes before you commit, schedule a quick call using the link below, or just call or text me. I always respond in a timely manner. I'll help you pressure test the specific house you're checking, verify all the red flags that we've talked about, help you with the true payment math, and make sure you're buying something that holds your value in your price range, not something that actually drains your budget after closing. I'm Stuart Sutton, a local real estate agent right here in Georgetown, Texas. Have been for over 3 decades. And again, I help buyers make smart, protective decisions so that you can move in with confidence and not regret the home that you chose. I hope to talk to you soon. And remember, it's your choice, so make it a powerful day.